board. We now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Ingracia, Alderman Coulter, Alderman Conway, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Villa, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderwoman Murphy, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Green, Alderwoman Behringer, Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Kennedy, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman French, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Ingracia, Alderman Conway, Alderman Rhodey, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, 19 present.
A quorum being present, we will be led today in prayer by Reverend John Watson, Sr. of Maple Temple.
Dr. Reed, may we bow our heads in reverence to our Divine Father. Kind Father, in the name of our Son, Jesus Christ, we come with thanksgiving and appreciation in our heart. We come, God, we are reminded that you are the one that inspires all of us. And we are praying, God, you continue to give us the insight and wisdom to meet these challenges of today as these great men and women legislate, trying to put things together for the betterment of our citizens. We need your guide in these perplexed times. There's so many things that we're not aware of, but however, you understand our hearts and our intent. So I pray, God, you bless this great assembly of people who strive so hard to bring betterment to the citizens of St. Louis in their endeavor. And bless us all, God, understanding that as we make decisions, you also make decisions. And that you would inspire them and give them wisdom and give them such grace as they need to continue this very stressful job they are doing. We certainly ask these blessings in the name of your beloved Son, Jesus Christ. We say amen and amen and amen.
I know you remember Reverend J. Scott Watson, Jr. from the fire department that gives the prayer regularly. That's his father, and he also has his mother today. Let's give his father a round of applause for a great prayer for us this morning. We'll suspend with our regular order of business, take up our courtesy resolution calendar. I move for adoption of our courtesy resolution calendar and obtain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman for the 9th. Alderman for the 18th would like to approach the dais for presentation of resolution number 48.
Mr. President, members of the board, in every community you have both exceptional and outstanding individuals. Somehow, Mr. Watson has been able to combine them both together. Exceptional individuals are those that have an atypical quality or characteristic that stands out and is different than what other individuals are able to carry. Outstanding individuals are those who have achieved something significant in a community and shine beyond the others. Somehow he has managed to put both of these together. His atypical characteristics of care, of deep love and concern, of great commitment, of dedication, sacrifice, and achievement on behalf of his community is atypical. His ability to lead a community, to be a captain in the St. Louis Fire Department, and somehow manage to retire from the city of St. Louis in one piece and with a sane mind is certainly an outstanding achievement. I have the pleasure of being his alderman and represent him for the past several years in our ward. He has shown himself to be an outstanding leader. Not only was he a fire captain for 27 years he's worked for the city. He survived 27 years with the city. Elevated and became a captain of the city, but he is also the chairman of our Academy Sherman Park neighborhood, a neighborhood that we also now share with the 26th Ward, and he oftentimes interfaces with Alderman Williamson as well. A fine individual, someone that you can depend upon, a pillar in our community. And he's combined all of that, being a leader in the neighborhood. He runs an excellent meeting, being a fire captain, being a leader among firefighters, being a leader in the community, but he is also a good family member, a father, a husband, a son, a good son, and manages to continue to contribute to our community. And though he has retired from the city, that simply means now that he's going to work for free. Because we know a character like John Watson will continue, or someone who has the characteristics of him will continue to work on behalf of our community. I would just like to read a portion, if I may, of the resolution. It says, whereas we have been apprised that after more than 27 years of dedicated service to the city of St. Louis, with the St. Louis Fire Department, Captain John Watson retired on February 21st, 2015. And whereas he began his career with the St. Louis Fire Department on August 31st, 1987, and was promoted to the rank of captain on July 29, 1999. And through his distinguished career, Captain John Watson held various assignments in the department, including work in Engine House 12, 17, 22, 11, and 23, as well as on the Marine Task Force. And whereas Captain John's integrity, leadership skill, and commitment to the professionalism to the fire department earned him the respect and admiration of his fellow firefighters, the clerical staff, and the lay people he worked with. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberations to say farewell and good luck to Captain John Watson after 27 years of commitment and dedication to the citizens of the City of St. Louis. And we wish him peace, happiness, joy in his retirement. And we direct the clerk of this board to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings and to prepare a commemorative copy to the end that it may be presented at a time and place appropriate to the sponsor. We thank the Watson family and his father here for sharing him with us and not complaining, at least you didn't complain to us, in his ongoing work on behalf of our community, and we wish him well in his retirement, and we continue to look forward for his now free work on behalf of our community. Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Thank you. I just want to congratulate you, John, in your retirement. It's been a pleasure working with you in the neighborhood organization. And as a first responder, when you go out and your dispatch, you put your life on the line. The men and women of the fire department, you do a great job. and we really appreciate that. But I still think you're doing an excellent job with the Sherman Park Academy Association, and I look forward to continue the relationship because you make that community a better place to live and work. Thank you. Enjoy your retirement.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I just wanted to rise and let Mr. Watson know that I really appreciate his leadership. I remember as a young alderperson, we were on the cusp of some controversial legislation regarding the firefighters' pension, and he met with me early one morning and really gave me some guidance on just the whole situation, and I appreciate you for that. I'm grateful for your dedicated service, and I hope that you just groom some people along the way to be what you've been to the city. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. John, I wish you the very best in your retirement. Academy Sherman neighborhood borders the 28th Ward, and I know that nothing happens there unless you're for it. So I'm happy to see that you're retiring from being a captain, and now you can even spend more time on neighborhood issues. So congratulations, have a great retirement, and lots of fun. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I consider him a friend. And a friend because I know that when you're out and about, aside from doing what I consider to be one of the most gratifying positions to be as a career, firefighters and policemen, what would we do in this world without them? It would be sad. So I really appreciate the work you've done over the years. But aside from Academy Sherman, we share him all over the city. He's everywhere, gathering information, volunteering, and so that's why I say he's a friend. He's a friend to all of us. So thank you very much for what you've done.
Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. First of all, congratulations. And Mr. President, has this resolution been embanked yet?
No, it has not.
I move that we embank this resolution.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by nearly every member of the Board of Aldermen. We'll choose the Alderwoman from the 13th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk, please prepare another copy of the resolution in bank.
So noted.
All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? As the Alderman from the 18th noted, we have the mother and the father of John, or I call him J. Scott Watson. And we call him Junior today because we have Senior in the house today. But he has been just tremendous for the city of St. Louis. And you've heard from a number of the other aldermen how he's all throughout our community. And he always approaches each issue with an even hand and an open mind. And he has been a calming force in when we've come up against some of those very tough issues at the board and across the city. And I, for one, am thankful for his works throughout the city. But I'm also, as a father of four, thankful for the work that his mother and father have done. Because had it not been for their upbringing, we would not have the John Scott Watson that we see before us today. So let's give them both a round of applause for a job well done. His mother is an incredible singer, absolutely incredible singer. I'm not going to put her on the spot today unless she wants to be on the spot today, but she's just magnificent singer. I don't know if the mother and father want to say anything before we move forward.
She can do the singing.
Do you want to say anything or anything before we move forward?
Yes,
Don't be shy.
I have a short song that I like to sing, and when I sing, I do have background. And when I sing, I want you to. This is a song. I'm going to give you a little song out. And when I said, I'm going to say, whose side are you leaning on? You said, leaning on the Lord's side. And I said, whose side are you leaning on? You You said, leaning on the... Whose side are you leaning on? Leaning on the Lord's side. Whose side are you leaning on? Leaning on the Lord's side. Whose side are you leaning on? Leaning on the Lord's side. Whose side are you leaning on? Leaning on the Lord's side. I'm leaning. 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 Whose side are you leaning on? 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 I'm leaning, I'm leaning, I'm leaning. 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 Hallelujah.
That's amazing. I could never do that with no background music. That is amazing. Thank you. Let's give her one more round of applause. Alderman? Are you going to give me a few words? Yeah. Carrie is going to introduce you. Go ahead. Yeah. Let's welcome J. Scott Watson.
I want to, first of all, appreciate the board and the board members for allowing a little space for my family to greet you all. And I want to say that I've got a little short speech, and it won't be very long. But I want to say I thank God for the longevity of my service. It was true what the Holy Scripture says, that His mercies are renewed every morning. I want to talk about the character of my service, and with that in mind, I want to thank some people. I first want to thank the citizens of St. Louis for always investing in the fire department. That enabled us to have efficient, up-to-date equipment and training that allowed me to my service to be more efficient and up-to-date and relevant for the times. I also want to thank this administration for putting in the bond issues and the legislation and vehicles that was needed to get the resources for the new equipment and the training. I want to thank the former chief that I served up under in the fire department, former Subtanic, former Chief George, and our present Chief Jenkinson. Their leadership, they have been able to keep the fire department leadership tradition of service with proudness alive, and also progressively lead the department into the future, making our training and our relevant. I also want to thank all of the deputy chiefs, the battalion chiefs, and the firefighters that I work with, because their expertise when I go to serve, it brought collaboration and it brought efficiency to the service that I rendered. I also want to thank my family for their support, father, mother, and also my brothers and sisters. I want to thank them for their support. I want to thank my lovely wife, because many times when I was at the firehouse and for the 24 hours, she kept the family safe. She watched over the children, any problem. So I was at ease, and I could focus on and have my complete attention on service in the city of St. Louis. So I want to publicly thank her for that. And if I would sum up the character of my service, I would say one word, and that's extraordinary. But not because of what I did, but extraordinary because of the support I received from my family and my community. That support allowed an ordinary firefighter to deliver extraordinary services. So again, God bless you, and I thank you.
Congratulations, Jay. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. That will return to our regular order of business. Introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 14th.
Good morning, Mr. President. I would like to have as my honored guests Jeff Hines from the Carpenters Union, Demetrius Alfred from Firefighters Local 73, Anthony Lancia from AGC, and our own Circuit Attorney, Jennifer Joyce.
Alderman from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have also as my honor guests the Circuit Attorney Jennifer Joyce and Rachel Smith, also Jerry Boyd, Special Assistant to the Treasurer's Office. Thank you.
Alderman from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also would like to include our Circuit Attorney, Jennifer Joyce, as my honored guest this morning. I had the pleasure of meeting with her this morning and Judge Hettenbach, who's the presiding judge of the Civil Court building, and happy to say that the meeting went well and the city is going to be lighting up the courts building for the Pride Festival, Pride Week this coming week. So I want to thank her for her time this morning. Also, I would like to welcome all the folks, the constituents, neighbors, business owners, and community organizers that are here on behalf of Raise the Wage as well.
Alderman from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have as my special guests today Marissa Lewis and Rasheen Aldrich, who are here representing fast food workers fighting for 15, and also Mike Grady from Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, Local 562.
Alderman from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I have a very, very special guest today with me. I have here Nick Kimball, who grew up with my son Connor. I've known him since he was 3 years old. He graduated from St. Louis University High School in 2012. He will be a junior next year at Loyola Academy. He is studying political science. And I've known his mother just as long. And I couldn't be prouder of his mother. She's a St. Louis City police officer that protects us every day. Thank you.
Right. Welcome, Nick. Any further introductions? Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have for my honored guest today Mary Pat Carl, that's also with Jennifer Joyce's office. And I guess I don't have to say Jennifer Joyce because she's been really hit today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th, like to wrap this up.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. It is June 12th. This is National Peanut Butter Cookie Day for you folks who are worried about what day it is. But more importantly, on this day, in 1909, the 16th Amendment was passed by Congress instituting the first income tax. On June 13th, the first bank opened in the Cayman Islands. Thank you.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I move for the approval of the minutes of May 29th meeting.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th. Entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 13th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in sections A, B, and C of the agenda and have been placed in all aldermen's mailboxes. I have from His Honor the Mayor the following correspondence. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Cherokee Limp Special Business District. The appointment of Jeremy Miller, who resides in the 9th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2018. The appointment of Kaylin Wissinger, who resides in the 9th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2017. The appointment of Barbara Moore, who resides in the 9th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2016. The reappointment of Mark Overton, who resides in the 8th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2015. The reappointment of Carrie Elder, who resides in the 9th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2016. The reappointment of John Brower, who resides in the 9th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2015. The reappointment of Patricia Dorn, who resides in the 9th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2015. On behalf of the Cherokee Limp Special Business District, I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 9th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Cherokee Limp Special Business District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we accept the appointments of the mayor.
Moved by Alderman from the 9th, seconded by Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the St. Louis Mental Health Board. The appointment of Phil Menden, who resides in the 17th Ward and whose term will expire on December 31st, 2019. The reappointment of Nina North Murphy, who resides in the 6th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2019. The reappointment of Roy Wilson, who resides in the 7th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2019. The appointment of David Lasso, who resides in the 11th Ward and whose term will expire on December 31st, 2019. The reappointment of Mary Lou Calzaretta, who resides in the 13th Ward, whose term will expire on April 30th, 2018. The reappointment of Stephen Doss, who resides in the 16th Ward, not the 12th Ward, the 16th Ward, whose term will expire on April 30th, 2018. The reappointment of Margaret Grandelos, who resides in the 28th Ward, whose term will expire on April 30th, 2018. The reappointment of Linda Grayson, who resides in the 28th Ward, whose term will expire on April 30th, 2018. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slade, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 2nd, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the St. Louis Mental Health Board.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move for the approval of the mayor's appointments to the Mental Health Board.
Moved by Alderman from the 2nd, seconded by Alderman from the 9th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Forest Park Advisory Board. The reappointment of Jean Cowell, who resides in the 28th Ward, whose term will expire on June 26, 2019. The reappointment of Ann Castle, who resides in the 28th Ward, whose term will expire on June 26, 2019. The reappointment of Lietta Price Land, who resides in the 26th Ward, whose term will expire on June 26, 2019. The reappointment of Deborah Dolgen, who resides in the 28th Ward, whose term will expire on June 26, 2019. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 9th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Forest Park Advisory Board.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we accept the appointments.
Moved by Alderman from the 9th, seconded by Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to City Hospital Powerhouse Community Improvement District. The appointment of Patricia Goodson, whose term will expire on July 12, 2019. The appointment of Terry Goodson, whose term will expire on June 1, 2019. The appointment of Chris Goodson, whose term will expire on July 12, 2019. The appointment of Ms. Stacy Hasty, whose term will expire on June 1, 2017. The appointment of Mike Hale, whose term will expire on June 1, 2017. On behalf of the City Hospital Powerhouse Community Improvement District, I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 7th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the City Hospital Powerhouse Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we accept the appointments.
Moved by the Alderman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to City Hospital RPA 2 Phase of Community Improvement District. The appointment of Patricia Goodson, whose term will expire on July 12, 2019. The appointment of Terry Goodson, whose term will expire on June the 1st, 2019. The appointment of Chris Goodson, whose term will expire on July 12, 2019. The appointment of Stacy Hasty, whose term will expire on June the 1st, 2017. The appointment of Mike Hale, whose term will expire on June the 1st, 2017. On behalf of City Hospital RPA 2 Phase of Community Improvement District 1, Community Improvement District, I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 7th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the City Hospital RPA 2 Phase Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we accept the appointments.
Moved by the Alderman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Forsyth Associates Community Improvement District. The appointment of Mike Emerson, who resides in the 7th Ward, whose term will expire on April 8, 2017. The appointment of Dr. James Pearson, who resides in Wentzville, and whose term will expire on April 8, 2019. The appointment of Dr. Bruce White, who resides in St. Louis County, whose term will expire on April 8, 2017. The appointment of Henry Sy, who resides in St. Louis County, whose term will expire on April 8, 2019. The appointment of Dr. Michael Menzin, who resides in Glencoe, Missouri, whose term will expire on April 8, 2019. On behalf of the Forsyth Associates Community Improvement Board, I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderwoman from the 19th, you recognize on the mayor's appointments to the Forsyth Associates Community Improvement Districts.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I move that we accept the mayor's appointment for the Forsyth Authority.
Moved by the Alderwoman from the 19th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 13th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Soulard Special Business District. The appointment of Scott Plackmeyer, who resides in the 7th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2019. The appointment of William Clendenin, who resides in the 7th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2018. The appointment of Luke Reynolds, who resides in the 7th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2018. The appointment of Sarah Earlbeck, who resides in the 7th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2018. The appointment of Lynn Sudom, who resides in the 7th Ward, whose term will expire on December 31st, 2017. On behalf of the Soulard Special Business District, I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 7th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Soulard Special Business District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we accept the nominations to the Soulard
Moved by the Alderman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Residence Inn St. Louis Downtown Community Improvement District. The reappointment of Stephen Abate, who resides in St. Louis County, whose term will expire on March the 8th, 2019. The reappointment of Robert Suela, who resides in St. Louis County and whose term will expire on March the 8th, 2019. The reappointment of Elizabeth Holtz, who resides in St. Louis County, whose term will expire on March the 18th, 2019. On behalf of the Residence Inn St. Louis Downtown Community Improvement District, I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 7th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Residency Inn St. Louis Downtown Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we accept the appointments.
Moved by the Alderman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
That's the extended report of city officials.
We will dispense with line items 7 through 10, first reading of board bills.
Board Bill 106, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, and ordinance authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental cooperation project agreement between the city, the Parking Commission, and Hampton-Berthold Transportation Development District, authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Hampton-Berthold Community Improvement District and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 107, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service, establishing a public works improvement project for the Grand Center Great Streets Improvement on Washington Boulevard project, involving the widening of sidewalks, lighting, and other roadway improvements from Grand to the Sheldon Concert Hall, appropriating the total estimated cost of $1,600,000 from various sources, including the Federal Highway Administration, moving ahead for progress in the 21st Century Act, and Grand Center Incorporated, and containing a public work emergency clause. Board Bill 108, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruzen and Alderman Ogilvie, and ordinance pertaining to the amount of graduated business license tax chargeable to businesses with 2 or fewer full-time employees, amending Section 2 of Ordinance 60643, repealing Section 5 of Ordinance 67091, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 109, sponsored by Alderman Ogilvie, and ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission pertaining to the regulation of home occupations in the zoning code, amending Ordinance 59979, Section 21 pertaining to permitted home occupations, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 110, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruzen, and ordinance concerning the licensing, regulating of business applications, professions, trades, and callings, including arcades, auctions, auctioneers, barbers, bathhouse, bed and breakfast establishments, billiard and pool rooms, bottle registration, commission merchants and merchandise brokers, dance hall, dance studios, detective agencies, embalmers, employee agencies, horse-drawn vehicles, information date bureaus, insurance adjusters, massage therapists, massage facilities, miniature pony tracks, motor buses, motor carrier transportation brokers, pawnbrokers, photographers, private security personnel, public photographic studios, real estate agents, brokers, second-hand dealers, service stations, small entrepreneurs, small manufacturers, stock yards, sales stables, cow dealers, street railways, tattoo parlors, taxi cabs, and service cars, theaters, shows, and other public amusements, ticket brokers, tile supply companies, undertakers, vault cleaners, miscellaneous vocations, the location and operation of certain businesses, underage nightclubs, and obtaining and revoking business licenses and permits by amending and repealing certain sections within Title 8 of the revised Code of the City and enacting a new ordinance covering the same subject matter and containing savings provision and severability provisions. Board Bill 111, sponsored by Alderman Boyd, and ordinance establishing a tire code for the City of St. Louis, providing for the permitting and regulating of tire dealers, waste tire haulers, and owners and operators of waste tire sites to address the impact of waste tires on the budget, environment, and physical health of the citizenry of St. Louis. Board Bill 112, sponsored by Alderman Vaccaro, and ordinance to repeal ordinance 69190 and 69929, establishing the salaries of employees in the Sheriff's Office and enacting in lieu thereof new ordinance fixing the annual rate of compensation of command personnel and deputies appointed to assist in the performance of duties of the Sheriff's Office and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 113, sponsored by Alderman Carter, and ordinance relating to establishing speed bumps and speed tables, finding the installation of speed bumps and speed tables are necessary and required. Board Bill 114, sponsored by Alderman Vaccaro, and ordinance relating to employees and salaries of the Office of the Recorder of Deeds, repealing ordinance 69192, approved pertaining to the Office of the Recorder of Deeds and enacting in lieu thereof a new ordinance pertaining to the same subject matter and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 115, sponsored by President Reed, and ordinance pertaining to the 12th and Park, Booter, Cherokee, Gamble, Marquette, Tandy, Wold Recreation Centers, providing that revenues derived from sources at 12th and Park, Buda, Cherokee, Gamble, Marquette, Tandy, Wold Recreation Center shall be held in a special fund as created by this ordinance for the center, each center to allow for the collection of private donations for the purpose of making capital improvements to these 7 neighborhood recreation centers. That's the extent of first reading.
Reference to committee.
To the Housing Committee, Board Bill 106. To the Streets Committee, Board Bill 107 and 113. To the Public Employees Committee, Board Bill 112 and 114. To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bill 111. And to the Parks Committee, Board Bill 115. That's the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading.
Following board bills were reported out of Neighborhood Development Committee. Board Bill 7, sponsored by Alderman Williamson, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 5762 and 5764 McPherson and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 13, sponsored by Alderwoman Green, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 3811 Juniata and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 14, sponsored by Alderwoman Green, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 3806 Arsenal and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 15, sponsored by Alderwoman Green, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 3836 Hartford, 3831 Wyoming, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 16, sponsored by Alderman Villa, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 5808 through 12 Michigan, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 17, sponsored by Alderman Villa, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 6308 and 7100 Michigan, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 18, sponsored by Alderwoman Murphy, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 5414 Alaska, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 19, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 1817, 1821 through 23 South 9th Street, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 20, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 1923 through 25 South 10th Street, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 34, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 3755 Lindell, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 46, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, and ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 2700 through 06 Cherokee. The following board bill was reported out of Health and Human Services Committee, Board Bill 81, sponsored by Alderwoman Flowers, and ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of the Department of Human Services via the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging to accept a contract from the Missouri Alliance of Area Agencies on Aging in the amount of $15,000 and to expend those funds for the benefit enrollment activities for adults with disabilities and senior citizens, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 82, sponsored by Alderwoman Flowers, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Director of Human Service, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Mayor and the Comptroller with the recommendation of the Director of the Department of Human Services to accept, enter into, and execute grant agreement awards for providing for the reimbursement for payments or payments to the city for the United States of America's share of eligible costs incurred for city-approved eligible programs, furthering the work of the continuum of care under grant agreements, and specifically authorizing and directing the acceptance of 2013 continuum of care grants application in the amount of $147,856 and the 2014 Continuum of Care Grant application in the amount of $146,197 and future Continuum of Care Grant awards and containing an emergency clause. The following board bills were reported out of the Housing Committee. Board Bill 43, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission and approving an amended community improvement plan for an area located in the city and comprising a portion of the Washington University Medical Center, pledging cooperation of the Board of Aldermen and requesting various officials, departments, boards, and agencies of the city to cooperate and exercise their respective powers in a manner consistent with the amended community unit plan. Board Bill 57, sponsored by Alderwoman Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property as indicated on the district map from D, multiple family dwelling district, to the F, neighborhood commercial district, for properties on North 13th Street and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 58, sponsored by Alderwoman Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property from C, multiple family dwelling district, to the J, industrial district, for properties on Glasgow Avenue and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 59, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property from J, industrial district, to the H, area commercial district, for properties on Hickory Street and Rucker Street, and containing an emergency clause. The following board bills were reported out of the Public Employees Committee. Board Bill 38, sponsored by Alderman Villa, an ordinance to regulate employer and employee working relationships between the city and all employees under the Medical Examiner's Office, repealing Ordinance 69193, allocating certain other employees to a grade with rate and including an emergency clause. Board Bill 39, sponsored by Alderman Villa, an ordinance relating to the appointment of the salaries of certain employees in the Collective Revenue's Office, repealing Ordinance 69189 and 69617, allocating certain other employees to a grade with a rate and including an emergency clause. Board Bill 64, sponsored by Alderman Bosley, an ordinance to repeal Ordinance 68706 relating to the appointment and rate of compensation of certain employees of the license collector and containing an emergency clause. The following board bills were reported out of the Public Safety Committee. Board Bill 72, sponsored by Alderwoman Howard, an ordinance repealing Ordinance 69865, and in lieu thereof enacting a new ordinance prohibiting the issuance of any package or liquor licenses for any currently non-licensed premises within the boundaries of the 14th Ward Liquor Control District and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 80, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruzen, an ordinance repealing Ordinance 69159, and in lieu thereof enacting a new ordinance prohibiting the issuance of any 3 a.m. closing permits for any currently non-licensed, non-3 a.m. licensed premises within the boundaries of the 28th Ward Liquor Control District and containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of our second reading.
We'll dispense with line item 14, perfection consent.
Board Bill 79, sponsored by Alderman Conway, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing a supplemental appropriation amending Ordinance 69736, commonly referred to as the City Annual Operating Plan for fiscal year 2014 through 2015, appropriating and setting apart projected excess, general, and special fund revenues to meet current expenses of the city government for the current fiscal year in the amount of $6,700,000 and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 66, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate travel in an irregular excess portion of 18th Street abutting the northwest corner of City Block 482WA and adjacent to blocks 1022, 1024, and 1100 South 18th Street. Board Bill 69, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service authorizing the mayor and the comptroller to execute a perpetual streetscape easement on Washington Avenue and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 70, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service authorizing the mayor and the comptroller to execute a perpetual streetscape easement for Laurel Transportation Development District and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 71, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service authorizing the mayor and the comptroller to execute a perpetual streetscape easement for Washington Avenue and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 73, sponsored by Alderman Arnowitz, an ordinance establishing a stop site for all northbound and southbound traffic traveling on Stoll Street at Prim Street, causing it to be a three-way stop site intersection and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 74, sponsored by Alderman Arnowitz, an ordinance establishing a stop site for all northbound and southbound traffic traveling on Stoll Street at Tesson Street, causing it to be a three-way stop site intersection and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 75, sponsored by Alderman Arnowitz, an ordinance establishing a stop site for all eastbound and westbound traffic traveling on Loughborough at Macklin and containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of perfection consent.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion for the perfection consent calendar.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I move for approval of the perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 11th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Third reading consent.
Board bills.
Madam Clerk, please. Alderman from the 21st, you're recognized.
Yes, can you please move Board Bill 47 to the informal, please?
Let's make note of that change. Page 17, top of the page 17, Board Bill number 47.
So noted.
Third reading consent.
Board bills 11, 22, 25, 37, 42, 5 as amended, 35, 44, 45, 48, committee substitute, 50, and 56.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion for the third reading consent calendar.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I move for approval of the third reading consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 11th. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Flowers. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Coulter. Alderman Conway. Alderman Ortman. Alderman Vollmer. Alderman Villa. Alderman Arnowitz. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderwoman Behringer. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman French. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvie. Alderman Cone. Alderman Williamson. Alderman Carter. Alderwoman Cruzen. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Conway. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Boyd. 24 aye votes, no votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion. The Alderman from the 18th and third read and finally passed the aforementioned bills. Dispense with line item 18, Report of Enrollment Committee.
Board bills 11, 22, 25, 37, 42, 5 as amended, 35, 44, 45, 48, committee substitute, 50, and 56.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. Dispense with line items 21 and 22, miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Tuesday, June the 16th, Ways and Means Committee meeting at 8:30 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Friday, Full Board meeting, 10 a.m. in the Chambers. That's the extent of my announcements.
Any further announcements?
I have one more announcement. The circuit attorney, Jennifer Joyce, will be in room 208 directly after the meeting to brief any aldermen that are interested on the results of her review of gun violence best practices around the city.
Yeah, so that's in 208 directly following the meeting. Alderman from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This Sunday is the annual St. Louis Jaycees Soapbox Derby taking place on Mackland Avenue. It starts at Mackland Botanical, running down all the way to the bottom at Daggett Avenue on the hill. It starts at right where Shaw School is at. There's also a car show, live music. There'll be beverages, food, fun. Come by. The police chief and fire chief will be racing each other once again this year. I believe the police chief won last year. Of course, he had lights and sirens and guns. And
weights in the back of his car.
All right, so come on by. It starts at 8 in the morning for the qualifying run. The police chief and fire chief race right around noon or 12:30. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I would like to let people know that St. Gabriel's Picnic is this Saturday, and it is a good time, so please come on down to the 16th Ward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. As we know, I've talked about the Salute to Women honorees that are going to be honored on June 19th. So that's next week. So this is my last time to talk about the Salute to Women that is being sponsored by the Urban League of St. Louis. 14 women who are extraordinary will receive awards from all over the world. And of course, you know, if you've been there before, it's a very fun night. We'll have lots of actors and sports people. But just to give you a few of the honorees, Cheryl Miller, which is one of the best basketball coaches in the world, she will be honored. And if there's no seventh game, her brother Reggie will be there with her. Also, when I look at the other list of the principal, I'm sorry, not the principal, but the superintendent of Jennings School District, Tracy has done a phenomenal job in that school district. She'll be honored. And so it goes on and on. So I ask you, this is your last week to buy tickets to support this endeavor. We'll also be having a community block party in the 19th Ward on Thursday, June 18th from 5 to 7 p.m. in Chambers Park. I want to thank those who are co-sponsoring this event, Urban Strategies, Reliance Bank, Justine Peterson, and several others. And so it's for the community. We want them to come out, bring their blankets, their chairs. C Sharp is my MC, so we'll have a lot of information about the recreation programs available for the city, all the many jobs that nobody's coming to apply for. 2 nights ago, they told me it's 10,000 on the top register, everything from busboy to physician. So slate information will be there as well. And I also wanted to thank all of my volunteers in the neighborhood. We've been really getting a lot of good information about unnecessary people in our neighborhood. That's how you keep your neighborhood calm. You need to call and tell somebody, I don't know him. Check him out. And that's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman from the 7th.
Mr. President, members of the board, I just wanted to announce that this Saturday evening, June 13th, is the first of the Soulard Summer Concert Series concerts in Soulard Market Park. Carrie and the Catapults will be playing. I believe it starts at 6 p.m. Come on out, have a beer, listen to some music in Soulard. Thanks.
All right. Any further announcements? Alderman from the 20th.
That this weekend we'll be reopening the Marquette Pool. This is the only publicly available free pool in the south side of St. Louis City. And so we'll be hosting a party this Saturday.
Yeah.
is a great example of a collaboration between many of the departments here in St. Louis City, and so we were able to fix the drainage issue that we had there, and welcome everybody to come to the pool party on Saturday, tomorrow, from 1 to 6.
Yeah, and also thanks Alderwoman for really championing that and getting it done. That's going to mean a lot to families, not just in your community, but all across the city. Thank you. Job well done. Let's give a round of applause for that. That was fantastic. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Any further announcements? And remember, directly following the meeting over in 208, Jennifer Joyce will be giving an overview. Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I move to excuse the alderman from the 4th, 6th, 8th, 17th, and 22nd for necessary absence.
Moved by the alderman from the 18th, seconded by the alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that the Board of Aldermen adjourns until Friday, June 19th at 10 a.m.
Second.
Moved by the alderman from the 18th, seconded by the alderwoman from the 13th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stand adjourned.